First of all, my boss, the Executive Director of Highway Safety Motor Vehicle, Palm Beach County native, Dave Kerner. Thank you, sir. Also, we have Mayor Sarah Baxter's here. I saw you, Mayor, somewhere here. Mayor, thank you for joining us. Also, Mayor Alan Kalbach of the City of Atlantis, Mayor Jeff Hermana from World Palm Beach. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Michael Napoleon from Wellington. Councilman John McGovern, also of Wellington. Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Maria Antuna from Wellington, and Councilwoman Amanda Silvestri, also of Wellington. Thank you for joining us here today. And if I missed you, my sincere apologies. We're in Tallahassee. I probably can name off everybody from Tallahassee, but it's nice being here. I'm Colonel Gary Howells, and thank you for being here today to celebrate Senator Ashley Moody's first year in office. And it's been a busy year it has been, I assure you. Congress has a reputation, I think we'd all would agree, of moving somewhat at a slow pace. Well, that's before Senator Moody went to Washington. She recently was named one of the busiest new lawmakers on Capitol Hill. Today, we will hear about many of her accomplishments she's had for Floridians, Florida veterans, farmers, parents, students, and even our booming space industry. But first, I want to talk about my friend, Senator Moody, and some of what she's accomplished for Florida law enforcement. I was fortunate enough to serve with Ashley Moody during her time as Florida's Attorney General. Before, during, and after those years, it was clear that her priority was supporting law enforcement and giving us the tools we need to do our job and keep Florida safe. She launched the Back the Blue initiative to recognize extraordinary support for law enforcement efforts and also strengthen programs like Crime Stoppers. Everybody's heard of Crime Stoppers? She created a Star Tips line, which made it easier for people across Florida to report crime. Her model was so efficient, so effective that it quickly expanded beyond Florida Crime Stoppers to a national model. Senator Moody was also focused on bridging the gap between law enforcement and the communities we serve. At every step, she continues to work, build positive relationships that make the streets of Florida safer. With her leadership, Florida became a desired destination for law enforcement professionals seeking a supportive environment to work in. We recruited officers nationwide through an innovative program that she initiated called Be a Florida Hero. As Florida is known as the most pro-law enforcement state in the nation, she has taken the same message straight to Washington, D.C., where she has continued to fight for the men and women serving in American law enforcement. Ashley Moody's commitment to public safety has been steadfast. She is the wife of a career law enforcement officer. She's a former federal prosecutor, obviously a state attorney general, a judge, and now Florida's newest senator. She continues to make Florida proud. Most recently, she introduced the HALO Act. This was based on a Florida law she championed as our Attorney General. This legislation is needed now more than ever as law enforcement faces increasing attacks from those who wish to interfere with efforts to combat criminal illegal aliens. As we celebrate her one-year anniversary in the United States Senate, I want to recognize her leadership in co-sponsoring the HELPER Act, which ensures first responders can afford to live in the communities that they serve. And also the HALO Act. Yes, thank you. Senator Moody, thank you for always standing for us, for fighting every single day in Washington, D.C. for Florida. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce another colonel. I'd like to introduce Space Force Colonel and current CEO of Space Florida, Colonel Robert Long.
Thank you, Colonel Howells. Appreciate that. And thank you, Senator Moody, for the opportunity to say a few words. There's an idea out there that had been circulating since 1991 on something called spaceport tax-exempt bonds. And I know that might just seem like a boring tax issue to most of us, myself included oftentimes. It turns out that those types of bonds are very effective and tried and true when we talk about being able to bring private dollars to invest in our nation's transportation infrastructure, up till now mostly just airports and seaports. But for more than 40 or 30 years, the idea that we could apply that to the space industry just sat there. with a lot of clear potential, but no real clear path forward. What changed? Why do we now have the ability to issue spaceport tax-exempt bonds? I'll tell you, it's leadership. Senator Moody revived a longstanding policy change, gave it momentum, direction, and ultimately a finish line. Quite simply, this legislation passed because she led it there, and the impact has been immediate. Since the passage, we've seen tangible interest from private companies, banks, investors, all sorts of aerospace entities, all reaching out how they can engage with us, how they can participate, and how they can put this change to work to grow and expand here in Florida. In fact, I just left the meeting on my way down here today talking just about this specific topic. I would argue that response speaks volumes. It tells us the market was ready. It just needed the right signal. Capital responds to clarity, and Senator Moody delivered clarity for the space industry. We're excited about what's to come next because the change makes the scale of investment needed to support the rapid growth of our industry possible. It means Florida can move faster to build and modernize the infrastructure that supports space launches, good jobs, and long-term economic growth. Florida is not a passive member of the space economy. We are actively making change, pushing policy to action so that we will remain the global leader in the $1.3 trillion industry that's forecasted to come. The launch cadence and infrastructure to workforce, innovation, and private sector investment, Florida continues to set the pace for the world. Senator Moody's work on spaceport bonds strengthens that position even further. It ensures that Florida not only leads today, but builds the foundation that not only gets us to the moon and Mars, but leads in space commerce for decades to come. We are incredibly grateful for your support, Senator Moody, and are looking forward to more in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. I'd also like to now introduce Captain Walt Steiner of the American Legion.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain Walt Steiner, United States Navy, retired after 33 years of service. By way of self-introduction, I was a Navy pilot. I flew helicopters in Vietnam, commanded an Air Force, no, we don't call it that. We call it an Aviation Force Squadron. And I was also former president of the Association of the United States Navy. So it is my privilege and honor to recognize what a friend and supporter Senator Ashley Moody has been to our veterans and military communities. First, here in the great state of Florida, as Florida Attorney General from 2019 to 2025. And since being appointed just last year to the United States Senate by our governor himself, a military veteran, for our entire nation now. The senator has established extensive connections to the military and veteran communities personally through her family and outreach, and professionally throughout her career by demonstrating her leadership in establishing supportive legislative priorities. And more than making connections, Senator Moody has proven to be a highly skillful and successful political leader, securing tangible results for veterans, military members, and for our entire national security. Senator Moody is the mother of an active duty service member. Her eldest son, Brandon, my eldest son is also named Brandon, but anyway, is currently serving on active duty as an officer in the United States Army. Her husband, Justin, is a career federal law enforcement officer who likewise embraces the Moody family virtue of service above self. Since being sworn into the United States Senate in 2025, Senator Moody has co-sponsored several legislative initiatives aimed at expanding benefits and protections for veterans and their families nationwide. In this short time, she has supported the Major Richard Starr Act, the Military Spouse Hiring Act, the Vets Opportunity Act, and the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, which secured nearly $1 billion in federal funding for Florida's military installations. Let us not forget what a fearsome advocate for veterans she was as Florida's Attorney General. She focused heavily on protecting Florida's veterans from financial exploitation. She created the Military and Veterans Assistance Program to educate service members about scams and recover funds for those targeted by deceptive trade practices. Under her leadership, the program recovered over $3.7 million for military families. She led efforts urging Congress to pass the Veteran Treatment Court Coordination Act, thereby supporting diversionary programs for veterans with service-related mental health or substance abuse issues. And she launched the Patriot Protection Week campaign to provide consumer protection resources specifically tailored to Florida's 1.5 million veterans. Senator Moody is a committed and dedicated public servant. As an Attorney General and a United States Senator, veterans, military members, and their families in our state and in our nation have no greater friend and supporter. Thank you, Senator Moody, for your inspiring leadership and steadfast service in support of our American military.
Next up, we have Matt Joyner, CEO of Florida Citrus Mutual Incorporated.
Thank you, Senator Moody, for the opportunity to join you here today. My name is Matt Joyner. I'm the CEO and Executive Vice President of Florida Citrus Mutual. Mutual is the state's largest trade organization representing Florida citrus growers and advocating for the long-term success of Florida's signature industry. Senator Moody is a strong advocate for Florida's citrus industry in Washington. Since her appointment to the U.S. Senate, she has made cutting through burdensome red tape and standing up for Florida's citrus growers a clear priority. Last April, Senator Moody demonstrated her leadership by introducing the Defending Domestic Orange Juice Production Act alongside Senator Rick Scott. This legislation directs the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to update the BRIC standards for natural sugar content in orange juice from 10.5 to 10.0. This proposed rule aligns federal regulations with today's crop without affecting taste, quality, or nutrition. While technical, this revision is critically important to Florida citrus growers. Our growers are recovering from the impacts of citrus greening disease and repeated adverse weather events over the past several seasons. Updating the standard identity for orange juice better reflects the natural sugar content of Florida oranges today, and it allows citrus growers to use more of their fruit and helps keep us competitive in a global marketplace. Because of Senator Moody's leadership and persistent advocacy, the FDA, after years of inaction, has now proposed a rule to update the nation's standard of identity for orange juice. The public comment period is closed and the FDA is considering a final rule. But this effort is about more than regulatory reform. It's about being a champion for an industry that has shaped Florida's identity, contributes billions of dollars year after year to Florida's economy, and supports jobs and economic opportunity in rural communities across the state. Florida citrus is an enduring symbol of the Sunshine State. Multi-generational citrus growers continue to adapt, innovate, and fight to deliver Florida orange juice across the nation and the world. Senator Moody, thank you for standing shoulder to shoulder with Florida's citrus growers and Florida's agricultural industry. Your leadership and commitment are providing hope and securing a bright future for generations to come.
Thank you, Mr. Joyner. And now we have Annalise Hernandez of Covenant Journey Academy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you guys so much for this opportunity. Senator. I am Annalise Hernandez, a 17-year-old 12th grader from Lake Worth, Florida, and I'm honored to speak to you about how education choice has benefited me. I attended traditional public school through the 10th grade. That year, a basketball injury suddenly opened my eyes that I needed a new environment. I wasn't learning, I was easily distracted, and honestly, I wasn't happy. I told my parents that I needed a change. Thanks to Florida's personalized education program scholarship, I can learn at home by taking online classes through Covenant Journey Academy. Having a one-on-one learning environment has made all of the difference. Over the last 2 years, I have learned the most in my entire life, not only strengthening my mind, but my faith as well. The scholarship gives me the freedom to travel with my parents on their work assignments so I can keep up with my studies while also experiencing new places and meeting new people. Without education choice, I would be a very different person. I not only am more knowledgeable, but I am more mature and more confident. After graduating high school this spring, I plan to study political science at Florida Atlantic University and eventually to pursue a career in corporate law. The PEP scholarship has laid the groundwork for my future success. I want to thank again Senator Moody for her continuous support of education choice programs that give students more opportunities to find the right learning environment and to become better citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. We certainly look forward to looking at your continued success as you progress. Finally, I'm honored to introduce my friend and Senator Ashley Moody.
Well, this is a treat. I did not know so many of you would be here today, and certainly my heart is big. Thank you for being here and being a part of this one-year anniversary. And all of your remarks were so beautiful, and I hope what it reflects is this is not about me, and certainly I'm honored to have served you over the year. This is about getting into Washington, digging in, rolling up my sleeves, and making sure that Washington, the swamp, is working for you and not the other way around. And when I agreed to take on this very important assignment 1 year ago, and quite frankly, it was about a year ago because I consider myself like the X-Man senator. I disappeared at the Florida Capitol and reappeared in the DC Capitol within 2 days. It was that fast. But every bit of, I think someone referred to it as persistent advocacy, maybe. I think it's more like aggressive annoyance. That attribute or character trait has served me well in Washington. It's served you well in Washington. Because I did not go to Washington to do business as usual. In fact, on the Senate floor recently, I had a colleague say, Senator Moody, I know you want to move quickly on this and you're trying to get this done, but there's a process and it needs to go through the committees and it needs to take, it takes some time. And I was like, well, I did not come here to do business as usual. The American people want us to get things done, and this is why Washington isn't working for the people anymore. And so aggressive annoyance works really well. I mean, that might have to be our new motto. What do you say, Linda? But this is great. And Gary, I appreciate you being here with me, certainly with my background and my professional career and my husband being in law enforcement. Supporting law enforcement is not just personal to me. It is important to our country and our state that we have men and women of integrity that will take that oath and stand on the line between order and chaos and good and evil and implement our laws, the people's laws. These aren't just like things that showed up on a piece of paper one day and we just are blindly following. There are laws. You sent people, whether that is to Tallahassee or in my case to Washington, to make the way, set forth the way we agree to live together as a free people in a civilized society. And the way we do that is your representatives make laws, and then we have these good men and women go out and effectuate them. And without that, this whole system, the delicate balance of power, falls apart. And so what they do is so important to the success and the consistency of the future of this nation. And I am so proud to be a part of that. And yes, many people thought I would get to Washington and be frustrated. Many people bet me that I would hate it with my personality. But I have loved every minute of using every tool in my background, whether it's personal, professional. Remember, I still have a kid at home. So the passion of protecting my own child spreads to protecting every one of your children. And I bring it with me to the floor of the Senate and to everything I do in Washington. All of that experience bringing to bear as your voice and taking action on behalf of you and your families, that gives me such satisfaction and reward that I can't put into words. And while I was appointed to this position and have since received the support of our president, I want you to know that every day I go there, I know whose voice I represent, and it's you. And so I appreciate you listing out all of the co-sponsored legislation, but I just wanted to say, if you go to Washington and remember what set Florida on the right track, which was led to Florida's success, which was making good decisions for the health, safety, and well-being of our citizens, but knowing what government's purpose is at its core, and that is to protect our citizens' rights. That's why we were established. And if that is your tether in everything that you do and everything that you vote on, that blueprint, that playbook that we set forth in Florida will work nationally. And we're already seeing it. And I am so proud that just within 100 days, I got my first bill passed off the Senate floor. I'm told that is remarkable. The president signed it the next week. We rolled back nonsense energy regulations that were pushed through at the very last minute and were just devastating for our tourism industry and our hospitality industry here in Florida. And since then, I've been very mindful, you heard, and worked with great diligence. If regulations are not working for the people, if they are in fact hindering us and challenging us as we live our lives, something's backwards there. If you can't even remember why they're there in the first place, probably a good time to get rid of the red tape. And I have been so proud to roll that back. When it comes to our families, I can think no other way to create stronger families than making sure that they have more money in their pockets. So I'm so proud that inflation is declining, wages are increasing. We passed legislation that will increase for most families $10,000 more in their pockets this year. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, child care credits. And when it comes to education, what's working to expand educational opportunities based on individual students' needs and their talents and their circumstances instead of their zip code. That is a recipe for success, and that is what I was proud to take for the rest of the nation. So proud to support that. So many of these efforts would not have been achievable without a staff. So many went to Washington with me. Ashley Moody goes to Washington. It was a group effort. And when I tell you, I said to them when we started this out, moving into the legislative branch, I've served in the judicial branch over a decade. Certainly as Attorney General, I spent some time in a federal prosecutor. I spent some time in the executive branches. This is my first foray into the legislative branch where I get to work every day to reflect you and your values and your priorities and how you want to live together as a people. And so I brought a staff on board that said, let's do it, let's get to work. They have closed thousands of constituent matters this year, thousands, almost 6,000 matters. 600 of those were for veterans with concerns that they brought to our office. I had a senator that will remain nameless. He's a senior senator, been doing this for a while. And he said to me, the best piece of advice I can give you is remember that you are there for Floridians. And if somebody comes in there and says they need their toenails clipped, you should have a pair of toenail clippers. And while it created a horrible image, it resonated with me so that I use that example a lot in talking to my staff and how we should engage. What might seem like a routine issue for a constituent could be the biggest challenge they face all year. And I have repeated that so many times. I have now received from multiple people on my staff toenail clippers as a reminder of what we do every single day. And I am genuinely proud of that. I have never shared that publicly. I will probably get reprimanded by my own staff when I get back. But I hope it shows to you the value we place in service. There has been numerous moments throughout my life where I felt like my professional choices lined up with my heart to serve. So in so many ways. Even as a young lawyer, I used to work all day, bill hours, and then at night go sit at the courthouse and help domestic violence victims fill out petitions. I just always felt this drive to help. But in this way, bringing everything from my educational background, my personal experiences as a mom, as a wife of a law enforcement officer. Our oldest is in the armed services. Every single day I show up with a personal connection to the issues we're working on. And if what we're doing isn't in the interests of our nation's strength or in the interests of the people that we serve, we shouldn't be doing it. And so whether that's sponsoring legislation to make sure people in Congress aren't trading stocks, or whether that's pushing for rules to make sure we don't have shutdowns, I will proudly do that, because the minute the people start doubting or even hesitating for a moment that the people they send up there to act on their behalf are doing anything other than that, is the day our nation is weakened. And so I am incredibly proud to show up as your United States Senator every single day, and work on your behalf. So thank you so much for being here with me today to celebrate this milestone for you. I wanted to show up today and report to you, my bosses, what I've been doing on your behalf. And we are just getting started. Just wait till year 2. Thanks so much.
Thank everybody, and this concludes our event. So, Senator, we appreciate you coming down.
Gary told me he wasn't sure if I would like it. I said, I think I'm going to love it. And if I love it, you have to grow a mustache. And I won.
We don't have a better representative than you, Senator. So thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you all.